The sad truth of Dungeons & Dragons is that if you are the Dungeon Master, you are essentially your friends and family's Xbox. If you're lucky, like me, and your wife plays with you, then hopefully she doesn't just spend all of her time pushing your buttons. Hey friends, my name's Timothy, and I am a professional Dungeon Master, running over 300 games a year, and here to help you improve your game of Dungeons & Dragons. Part of understanding how to improve our game of Dungeons & Dragons, especially as a Dungeon Master, is to realize that the essential goal and the joy that we gather out of playing Dungeons & Dragons is different from either side of the screen. Basically, if you're on the player's side of the screen, you are playing a game. You're there in a team sport working with others to dive into the mental state of a character in a game, and you're also doing the gamey part of trying to win, utilizing as few resources as possible to survive as crazy a situation as you might get thrust into. Your goals are to gather together with your friends, to have a load of fun, to succeed, and preferably to not have your character die. A lot of the time, you're going to have additional goals of trying to tell an awesome story, to have character growth, and there's tons of opportunities for the game to grow and be cool, and for you to do lots of awesome things. But if you're on the other side of the screen and you're in the Dungeon Master hot seat, you are not playing a game. And that might seem like a little bit of an unfairness, and honestly, maybe it is. I know that when I first started playing Dungeons & Dragons, I really wanted to be in the player seat because I really wanted to explore the world and have these discoveries, and I knew as soon as I stepped behind the Dungeon Master screen that all of the secrets were revealed. They were all mine to know, and the joy that I was getting as a DM just wasn't the same as it was as a player. But I was thrust into the role and I loved it. I stuck with it for a long time, and I've come to understand that there is something special about being the DM. Essentially, the difference that we need to get our heads around is we're not playing a game, we're part of a hobby. As a Dungeon Master, you're a world builder and a character creator. You're a storyteller and an improvisational artist. You're a narrator and a voice actor. You're a crafter and a creator. You're doing so many different things that occupy so much more of your time when you're not at the table than even when you are at the table running the game. Essentially, we have a full-time hobby on our hands while our players show up with their characters and have a good time playing the game that we present. We're their Xbox. We are their physics engine. We are the game console that they play their game on. But why on earth does that matter anyway? What's the point in getting ourselves depressed over the idea that we don't get to play the game when we're the Dungeon Master? Honestly, it's because we need to understand that we have different hats, different roles, and different fun to fulfill. There are a lot of DMs out there who feel like they're supposed to be having the same kind of fun that the players are, when that's just not possible from the other side of the screen. Instead, they need to be finding joy in the things that make D&D such an amazing hobby for the DMs that run those games out there. If we can make that shift in our mindset, it starts to open up a lot of possibilities for us as we realize that the players' fun at the table, their enjoyment of the game, is one of our outcomes that we're seeking. The creations that we build should not be there to antagonize and beat our players because we're not the villain. We're the game engine that has a villain in it, and we want to run that villain in a way that's going to be engaging and fun, and we want our players' fun to be as maximized as we possibly can. That means putting their enjoyment before our own sometimes, but other times it just means listening and understanding that their fun is going to come from a very different thing that ours will. Our fun's going to come as they find joy in our encounters, as things grow dicey and we hear them exclaiming that they're all gonna die and then pulling through and coming out the other side excited and victorious. That's a load of fun for me as a DM. My personal favorite. We have a really big family and a huge table that we built from scratch in order to allow all of us to sit around, but also so that we could play D&D on a giant table that was built for the 13 or 14 of us, with 7 or 8 players at the table, plus all of my shindig and 3D printed terrain everywhere. Some of my favorite memories are of the excitement levels growing to such a point that my daughter is literally climbing up onto the table in order to reach the minis and exclaiming, "We're all gonna die!" And that's just a different kind of fun that you don't get when you're the player on the other side of the screen. But at the same time, the fun that they were having of that fear and the excitement, that's just not something that we get on our side. One of our bad guys dies, it's not a big deal for us, and we don't have that same fear of loss, or at least we shouldn't. Similarly, when we start to realize that as the game system, our job is to create a game that is engaging and fun to the players, then when they're having an awesome experience and they try to do something a little bit unusual that maybe broaches the edges of the rules, we can give them that little bit of play in order to enhance their fun, knowing that we are doing something that a computer physically can't. We are allowing them to bend things to be fun for them. We want them to have a great time at the table, and we can do that in a way that no computer will ever be able to do, AI willing. Until AI can completely replace us, we are going to be able to provide experiences that no video game system can. And while you may have your buttons pushed occasionally, hopefully you will still be able to provide a lot of fun and find fun in the enjoyment of your players for years to come. Thanks for watching and happy adventuring.